In this lesson, I want to show you how to create Morion's helmet in 3ds Max. Let's start creating it. We'll open the File Explorer. There, we'll look at the properties of our file. Then go to Details and check the size. Next, we create a plane in the front view. Set the segmentation, one here, enter 970, 979 here, because that was the size. Here, we'll enter 1008, 1108, 1 extra 0. That's how it was there. Now let's turn on this snapping. We'll use this now and copy it with Shift. Not along all axes, but along this one that's currently highlighted. We'll copy it by 90 degrees. Now let's turn on this snappy doing. My hotkey is S. Right click, enable vertices. If you had any other checkboxes selected there, you only need vertices. Now grab this little point and drag it over to that one. We've set up the references. Now let's put images on them. Just grab them in the File Explorer, drag and drop, grab, drag and drop. Now let's create a quad sphere. Why not a regular sphere? A regular sphere has a pole, and on the final 3D model, there would be an unsightly pole visible right here. That's why we'll use a quad sphere. A quad sphere is created from a box. Let's switch to the front view. Here we'll roughly adjust it, and in the left view, just move it over here. Now let's open the hierarchy, go to Effects, and apply Turbo Smooth. Turbo Smooth and Spherify. There you have the quad sphere. All that's left is to adjust its shape. We roughly adjusted it. You can also do it like this. To get a more precise fit, now let's select press 4, meaning polygons. Here they are. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth one in order. Logically, the fifth will be elements number 5, and elements will be enabled if we press 5. Now I pressed 1, switch to vertex mode, and I'm just moving the points as we need. We'll probably erase this half, like this, just like that. I erased it because later I'll mirror it. So now let's select this and move it down. And move it down once more. If you just move it down, it will simply shift without creating new geometry. To create new geometry, hold down Shift and drag. I'll speed up the adjustment process because it's not very fast. Now let's change the view. Let's apply a mirror so it's not facing us with the black side. The main thing is to make sure that the copy checkbox isn't checked here. Not a checkbox, a radio button. And let's continue adjusting in another view. Of course, let's enable Alt-X to make the adjustments more precise. Alt-X is the transparency mode. Let's do. Press Ctrl and backspace together to remove the extra edge that you don't need. In this next part, we'll perform a ring selection, then use the shrink tool to reduce the selection area, followed by connecting the selected points, and finally, we'll carefully adjust these points to refine the shape. Let's select all the points and drag them over there. We'll leave one. Which one are we gonna move? This one here. And let's move it. We'll move this point as well. We'll select this, drag it there, and move it closer to that corner. And this one goes right into the corner. So for now we get this kind of half. It's not very good yet. Of course, the reference images I picked aren't perfect, so they might not match up exactly with what you see here, but honestly, that's not a big deal at all. So now let's select this one, Hero Ring, and connect again. Let's push this in. Push it. That was extra. How do you move this again? That's it, now. Just like that. Now let's select this line again and do a make planar along the x-axis. This one also fits like this. Now let's switch to the front view actually. Left, left. I mixed up the views. Now, let's go ahead and select these polygons by clicking on each one individually, making sure that all of the shapes you want to work with are highlighted before moving on. Pull them up gently. Switch to the left view and start adjusting. Now let's switch to the front view and we'll start adjusting step by step, but this time from a completely different angle. From time to time, check what you're getting in perspective so you don't end up doing everything completely wrong during the adjustment, only to realize later that you spent a lot of time and it all turned out to be incorrect. That wasn't quite right. Here, yes, this is where it needs to be. At this point, I'm not even bothering to make any further adjustments to it in the view, simply because achieving super precision really isn't necessary for what we're doing here. The level of accuracy we have right now is more than sufficient for our purposes, and spending extra time trying to fine-tune it any further wouldn't actually make a meaningful difference to the final result. So I'm just leaving it as it is and moving on to the next step. All of this is unnecessary. Just like that. We end up with this kind of crust. Like this, but it still needs some tweaking. There. This kind of crest. Now we need to make a cutout on the crest. The cutout on the crest is this strip, and of course the nuts. We'll do this by switching to our front view. This part isn't correct. Here as well. Let's start with the cutout on the crest. Let's select these polygons. And make an insert. like this. In the picture is much bigger, so we will do as in the picture, like this. If any errors appear somewhere, like I have here for example, and on the other side of this helmet, there's also a mistake here. I'll fix this manually using target weld. In this case, the variable we are discussing is represented by the letter h and its value is set to 1. This means that throughout our current calculation or analysis, whenever we mention h, we are specifically referring to the number 1. Assigning this value to h's helps ensure that everyone is clear about what is being used in any equations or formulas involving h's in this context. And we get this shape for the cutout. We'll also do this here. Let's delete it. Ideally, this should have been done earlier, but it can be done now as well. At this point, please carefully select all of the polygons that are currently highlighted or indicated on your screen, making sure not to miss any of them. And push them inward. By the way, this is Treats Max 2023. Here I just press shift and push it in like this. If you have 2019, you won't be able to do it this way. What to do if you have 19th? You need to click here on extrude. I'll do a little relax. Here I have this edge. Let's erase it. Turbo Smooth will take care of this. The surface still isn't perfect. It can be made even better. Like this, that's better. Now, after here in this particular area, this can also be fixed. There's a dent here. It's better if I use relax and just soften it here. Peak, peak, peak. Now let's add a swift loop here. Peak. Just like that. And here we apply symmetry along the x-axis. And then turbo smooth. Set the weld value to 0. I pushed it in too deep. Bingo. Now, again, with turbo smooth, we can see there are no more glitches like before. Just like that. Now let's add thickness, this strip, and the nuts. We'll start, of course, with this strip right here. It's the simplest element here. We'll add thickness later. Select one polygon. Let's try to make a ring. It didn't work out in the best way, of course, but that's okay. Remove the excess. Make the inset not so strong, just like this. Extrude, specify the local bonus. Just like that. And we get that very strip. So here we ended up with this not connections, but rather these roundings, because with each extrude on the edge, on the surface edge, you actually need to in fact remove or delete the polygon, as you can see. And here, target weld, and let's delete this. Target weld and snap. Snap it here. And move this over. Now, here, let's select this one. Border. Select it. Just like that. And let's do a planar mapping along the x-axis. There. We've done the planar mapping, but that's not really important. Like this. We get the strip, but it's turned out too thick. I mean, it's too tall. So let's select this polygon and make a loop. It selected it quite unnecessarily for some reason, without any real need. Really, as you can see right there. And now we just grab the z-axis and lower it. Let's remove this. Now, let's add this little strip along the edge. We'll enable the loop here and do it like this. Now let's select this. Now let's go ahead and make another loop and remove the excess. And let's do an extrude. Like that. And here, let's delete these caps. Pop, pop. Turbo smooth. And we get this. Here's this hole. We'll close it by selecting this edge, moving it here, and it will fill in because I have a fairly large weld parameter set in the symmetry modifier. There, you see it's filled in. That's a whole 10 centimeters. Now let's add some thickness. We'll add thickness after symmetry. Shell is a modifier that adds thickness. Yes. We won't add too much. Let's specify it. And in turbo smooth. I added thickness before symmetry, and after adding thickness we'll open edit poly. Here it messed things up quite a bit. I'll fix these little glitches that appear when creating thickness. And now let's apply Turbo Smooth again. So we'll move the edit pulley a bit later on, just not right now, but very soon, I promise, okay? Turbo Smooth again. After symmetry, we'll then apply the weld vertex modifier, or vertex weld. Just like that. And we'll merge the extra vertices. After we've merged them, it's merging them too much. We'll merge them manually. There are a few mistakes here. Just like that. Now Turbo Smooth. Now as for the thickness, all that's left is to add these little bolts. Let's select one edge, make a ring, connect, and create shape. But all of this needs to be done after Turbo Smooth edit poly. Select this and create shape from selected. This will be the spline along which our bolts will be placed. The bolts don't need to be quad spheres. Let's create a regular sphere like this. Then we'll apply the array modifier, turn on spline type here, pick spline, and specify our spline. And of course, we'll set a higher quantity. We see that they were created somewhere else because the pivot of our spline is in a completely random place. And we also need to do a reset Xform, reset selected on it. There we go. Right click and convert to editable spline. Now, instead of grid, enable spline here, and in pick spline specify our spline. That's it. Now they're positioned and distributed correctly. Let's hide our spline. Hide. And we get this kind of result. The Morion helmet is ready. This was Robert FT5 with you. Goodbye everyone.